Guys, so today we're going to be decluttering my bronzer collection. I feel like I have accumulated way more bronzers than I ever realized or that I ever wanted. I like bronzer, I wear it almost every single day, but I definitely feel that when you're as fair and as cool undertoned as I am, sometimes bronzers can be a little tricky, a little challenging because they can look very orange very quickly. I feel like if you're light medium to tan, a lot of bronzers can look really great on you because you can wear that warmth. You can pull in those kinds of undertones without any issues. I think sometimes I push the boundaries as far as orange bronzers on myself, but at the end of the day, for as much as I wear bronzer every single day, I feel like I want this collection to be a little more edited, a little more curated. I feel like I really want to love the bronzers, trust the bronzers, get the right undertone, because at the end of the day, it serves a function on my face, but I'm not necessarily as passionate about bronzer as I am, say, highlighters or even blushes or lip products. So it's a functional product to me, and you would never guess that by how many I have sitting in here. So I kind of want to approach this the same way I did blushes. I want to pull out bronzers that are matte into one group and shimmery satiny into another group, and then kind of go through and swatch those versus going brand by brand or high-end versus drugstore. At the end of the day, it's about whether or not a product works for me, and I think it's a quality product versus what store I got it from, drugstore or high-end. All right, rambly intro aside, let's get into this declutter. All right, so here are all my matte bronzers. I've got quite a few of them here, high-end and drugstore. For me, I think I have pretty good performance with all of these. Like, I don't think I look at any of these bronzers and think, okay, I don't like how they perform on my skin. So for me, what I think I want to do is open all these up, swatch them, and really make some decisions based off of undertones on whether or not it is a bronzer that I really truly love. Because sometimes I feel like it's a bronzer that's in my rotation and I use it, but I'm not really comparing how I think about this one versus the undertone of another one. So this whole swatching process is going to be good for me to kind of mentally assess how warm am I comfortable going versus, you know, how cool with other tones. So let's pop all these open so you can see the colors. All right, so let's start this whole swatch fest with one that I know to be fairly neutral. So I want to get this on my arm because I think it'll be a good comparison to other bronzers. This is Take Home the Bronze by the Balm. This is the shade Oscar. They may have renamed this one. I feel like they got in trouble because of the Oscar on here, and I feel like this has been renamed. If it is, I'll put it on the screen. But regardless, the whole point of this one is that it is the anti-orange bronzer. It is from the Balm. I did really enjoy this one, and I think it is nice and neutral. And I think calling it an anti-orange bronzer actually makes a lot of sense because there is not a lot of orangey undertone to this whatsoever. So nice neutral brown, beautiful formula. Next up for comparison, let's pull this in. This is Balm Desert by the Balm. This kind of went along with that collection of two blushes that I was looking at. This one is a little bit lighter and a little bit more of a rosy undertone. So when I say warmth, I typically think of orangey tones, but sometimes if a bronzer goes a little bit more rosy, it actually looks really beautiful on my skin because when I bronze, haha, when my fair skin gets darker, it actually ends up with a little bit more of a rosy cast than a orangey cast. So I do like both of these. I do think I want to keep both of them. So this is from e.l.f. This is one of their bronzers. They do a warm bronzer and then oh gosh, there's like 3 other kinds, but this is cool bronzer. It's interesting because it has a white shade here in the corner and then 3 different kind of tones. I'm just going to swirl this all together to hopefully get an accurate. And that is really pretty. It definitely reminds me of the Balm Desert, but it's actually a little bit lighter and a little bit, maybe a little pinker. I like this one though because I feel like I can really target how dark this bronzer is going to get on me. So this is one that I feel like works for me in the wintertime every bit as well as in the summertime. So I'm hesitant to get rid of this. I also really like the formula of this. I know it's not their most popular bronzer, but it's definitely my favorite. I had the warm bronzer and I think I had the third one too if I'm remembering correctly, and I decluttered both of those. So I think this is a strong maybe. This is also from e.l.f. This is just their bronzer. I think this is $2. This is Light Matte Bronzer. It's interesting. They say it's light, but this doesn't seem very light to me at all, at least in the pan. I'm trying to remember. Now that I'm looking at that, that almost has a little bit of a satiny shift to it. It's not as matte as some of these other ones are. The undertone is definitely really pretty. I also feel like it's not as dark as this little compact would lead you to believe. Tempted on this too. Not doing so hot. And then this is the Primer-Infused bronzer. This is in Forever Sunkissed. I think this one is going to look a little bit more yellow toned in comparison. It's light, but yeah, you can see that one is a little bit more yellowy than some of the other ones. Pull this in. This is the Ulta Matte Bronzer. This is their cool bronzer. They do a warm one as well. So I'm curious to see how this one is compared to some of these others. I did like the formula on this quite a bit. It felt really nice and creamy. That's a really pretty bronzer. It definitely falls within these sort of rosy tones. In fact, it reminds me a lot of the cool bronzer from e.l.f. as well. I feel like I'm going to swatch some of these and then kind of come back. So I'm going to try and keep these in order down here. So I feel like I'm going to swatch a bunch of these and then kind of start to eliminate as I see undertones. All right, let's just grab this. This is Hoola, the original Hoola from Benefit. I did not care for the light Hoola. It was way yellow on me. I could not get it to work. I just felt like it was a strange undertone. That actually looks very similar to the e.l.f. one that we just swatched a second ago. This is a new Anastasia bronzer. This is the shade Rosewood. I got this because I thought it might have a nice rosy undertone, as the name would suggest. And it is definitely more rosy than the Hoola one you just saw below. So this is one that I think is kind of flattering for my undertone. I think the undertone is more similar to some of these more cool bronzers down here. Like the formula, my biggest complaint with this, or my biggest challenge with this rather, is that it is super pigmented. So it's just one of those ones that I have to be a little more careful as I apply, but it does blend out like a dream. Let's grab this. This is Bobbi Brown. This is the shade Telluride. I picked this up because Tara Babies mentioned it, and I thought it was a really interesting idea. In this whole collection, it kind of looks like a blush. She really enjoyed this bronzer though, because she is fair like me, and she said, you know, when I get sun on my face, I don't turn tan or orange. I tend to get a lot of warmth to my skin. So she thought this bronzer was really interesting from that perspective. I think it's probably a little more, I mean, it's definitely pulling in these sort of rosier undertoned bronzer kind of family, more cool leaning. I kind of feel like I might want to keep this and just use it as a blush though. I feel like keeping it in my bronzer drawer is a mistake. So I do think I'm going to keep it, but I think I'm going to move it to my blush drawer. This is Too Faced. This is Milk Chocolate Soleil. Definitely a bronzer that they are pretty famous for. I think they've got newer packaging on these. This one is very light, and I do appreciate that about that. It's one I'm building this up so I can really see the undertone. I never feel like I have to be too worried about this being too heavy or too dark on me, even when I'm very fair in the wintertime. This is from number 7. This is the shade Golden Sand. They have a lot of different undertones to their matte bronzers. I can find the matte bronzers at Target. I cannot find the matte bronzers at Walgreens, even though they carry a lot of the number 7 products at Walgreens. I love the formula of this. It's super nice, but I feel like it is going to be like a lot of these other shades. It's got a little bit more of a warm undertone to it than the Too Faced one or the Hoola down here. All right, I think I'm gonna start swatching down the side here because I wanna keep my swatches going. So this is not a bronzer technically. This is just one of the Wet n Wild pressed powders. This is in the shade Golden Tan. I picked this up because when you're as fair as I am, sometimes just buying a powder a couple of shades darker can actually work really well. Now that I'm seeing that though, That is looking very orangey compared to the rest of these. Hopefully you guys can see just how orange that looks in comparison. I think I am going to go ahead and pass this guy on. This may be one that goes very orange on me too. This is the Essence Matte Bronzing Powder. I tried this before. I tried this last week. This is the shade Natural. I think they do maybe one other shade in this. Formula is really nice, but I feel like it was also very orange on me. Yeah, that's a good example of a bronzer that is just too orange, so I'm going to pass this one on. This is from Laura Geller. This is the Beach Matte Bronzer in Sunrise Fair. I don't know if they're making this anymore. I think I saw this on Hoola, and I feel like they are discontinuing this one. It's a little warmer than I love, so I think I'm gonna pass this one along as well. And then last bronzer we have not swatched yet. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow in Dolce de Leche. I do love this powder. It's super creamy. It's great for brightening underneath the eyes or just the tops of the cheekbones. And then this side here, you can see it has a lot of kick up. I'm trying to remember the color. All right, now that I'm seeing these all swatched on my arm, for as much as I love this e.l.f. one, and I didn't feel like it was too warm for me, I definitely don't think I'm loving the undertone on this e.l.f. one as much as I am some of the other undertoned bronzers. Hopefully you can see the difference here between this e.l.f. one, which is a little bit more yellowy, and this one from Ulta, which is a little bit more cool toned. So I actually think the formula of these is very comparable, but I think I just like this one a smidge more from an undertone perspective. So I do think, oh, this breaks my heart. I love the feeling of this on my skin, and it just blended so well. But I think I'm going to keep the Ulta one and pass on the e.l.f. one. For as much as I think this is a quality powder and I have no issues with it, I just don't find myself reaching for it a ton. It's definitely a good value. I just feel like I have bronzers that I like a little bit more than this one. So I do think I'm going to pass this guy along. But as far as the rest of these go, I think I want to hang on to them. I'm going to keep Hoola. It's definitely more of a goldeny undertone than some of the other ones. I like Rosewood from Anastasia. I like how these two swatch. I do want to keep the Milk Chocolate Soleil. I like how cool toned these two are. So I feel like I'm going to keep the rest of these. All right, so here are all of my satiny or shimmery bronzers. Like we did before, let's pop all of these open so you can see them, and then we will get into swatching and figuring out what we want to keep. All right, so here they're all opened up. I think the first good move for me is going to be a swatch, probably my coolest bronzer, just so I can get that undertone in my head as I see it on my arm, and then use that as kind of a comparison to how warm some of the rest of these get. So my coolest glowy bronzer is also one of my favorites. This is the L'Oreal Glam Bronze in 01 Light Pale. It is a beautiful formula. It is super creamy. I love this thing. It just, oh gosh, the formula is amazing on this. Blends into the skin super well. It's glowy without being like super shiny. Like, this is just a stunning bronzer, and if you are fair with cool undertones, I would 100% recommend this one. I just think it is beautiful. So I know I'm keeping this. This is from Bare Minerals. This is their Invisible Bronze. This is the shade Fair to Light. This is another one of those ones that's lightly glowy, but not like too extreme. It also has a beautiful undertone. This one is a little warmer than the Glam Bronze, but I also feel like it gets its warmth from some rosy undertones. This is one that I'm not feeling super passionate about keeping, to be honest. I tried it. This is the Hard Candy Glow All the Way in the shade 130 Tropics. It's a baked bronzer. I didn't really love the texture of this one, and I didn't feel like it really showed up much on my skin, and I'm pretty fair, so that's it there. You can see it's significantly lighter. Obviously, I'm building up the swatches of these quite a bit to get the undertone, but this is one I feel like I can part with and not really miss, so that's gonna go. Another one, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but another one that I know isn't working for me, that I tried this last couple of weeks. This is from Milani. This is their baked bronzer. This is in the shade Dolce. This is their newest bronzer color. It came out last spring, and I just felt like this one was a little too yellow on me. Yeah, you can see that. It was just making me look a little yellow and jaundiced. So it wasn't even orange, it was more yellow. So this is one that I can pass on and not miss in the least. This Bare Minerals one that we swatched here, I am gonna keep this. No need to even set it to the side. I love this one. I love the formula, I love the color, keeping that. So this is from Too Faced. This is their Baked Luminous Glow Bronzer in Sweet Tea. It's kind of nice because it has two different sides to it, so you can really kind of focus your brush in a particular area. But I feel like this one is really nice and neutral leaning by the time I get it on my skin. It's not as cool as this down here. It doesn't have that rosy undertone here, but it's very neutral. And I just love how this looks on my skin. I don't love this big bulky packaging. I mean, it's cute, I guess, but it is definitely one of my favorite glowy bronzers. So I do know I want to keep this. Let's look at this one next. So this is the Sweetie Pie bronzer. This is their Radiant Matte Bronzer infused with peach and sweet pig cream. I know a lot of people didn't like this one because they felt it strange that it had these like little peach sections to it. For me personally, I actually found that this had a nice warm rosy undertone to it. So warm in the sense of being not orange or yellow, but warm with a more peachy undertone, almost more of a blush color. I know a lot of people were saying this is more of a blush. I can see that. But for someone who's fair, who has cool undertones, this is a lovely bronzer color. And it's definitely different than any of the colors I have here. So I really liked this. I liked the formula. I loved how it looked on my skin. So I'm gonna keep this one. One that I think I'm gonna pass on, this is from Pure. I don't even think they have this out anymore. This is their Glow Together bronzer. And in theory, you had three matte and three shimmer shades. This is nice, but it's very soft. And so I always worried about this breaking in my bag. The color was really pretty. It was a good undertone for me. It wasn't too warm, but it's very soft. It's very big. It's very bulky. I just feel like I'm gonna have a friend who enjoys this more. With products this ginormous, I really want to love them to keep them, and I just never felt like I was madly in love with this bronzer enough to warrant keeping it giant size in my container. So I do think I'm going to pass this on. All right, let's just swatch some of the rest of these, and we may use the undertones to make some decisions on them. So this is from Revlon. This is their Bronze Beauty. It's a satin. I remember really enjoying this. I don't like the packaging on it, but the formula was really pretty. So I do like the undertone of that. This is ColourPop. This is Private Party. I feel like this one was just too dark on me. I think I'm gonna hang on to this and use it on my friend for her wedding, but then I'm going to go ahead and declutter it because it was just too heavy and too dark on me, so I don't think I'm gonna miss this guy. This is from Julep. This is medium tan in their So Radiant bronzer. This is their diamond bronzing powder. I picked this up because Kathleen Lights really liked it a lot. I had tried the lighter version and felt like it was too yellow on me. This one definitely has a better undertone. The undertone on this is better, but I still feel like it is going to be too warm on me, so I do think I'm gonna pass this guy on. This is the Catrice Sun Lover Glow Bronzer. This is one that I feel like looks almost cool tone in the pan and then for some reason is a lot warmer on my skin. That's not bad. I'm gonna think about that one. All right, I'm running out of swatches. I'm gonna keep this coolest one down here and then I'm gonna wipe off the rest and we're gonna re-swatch all of these because I wanna make some decisions on what's left based on undertone. So give me a sec. This is from Becca. This is the shade Bali Sands in their Sunlit bronzer. Beautiful formula on this one. Really did enjoy that quite a bit. This is another Becca bronzer. This is the one in Sunrise Waves. This is the one I feel like my friend may get a little bit more use or love out of this because it has a strong gold shift to it that I don't love as much on my skin. In fact, I think I'm going to just clean this up and pass it on to a friend. This you can barely tell anymore. This is the Baked Bronzer from Makeup Revolution, and this is in the shade Ready to Go. I really like how this one looks on my skin. It's from a satiny perspective. It's definitely warm, but it's not like, it's more a pinky warm than a orange warm. And then last one we haven't swatched, this is from Jouer. This is Suntan. This may actually be matte. Maybe it's slightly satiny. Let's see here. Yeah, that one's a little bit more neutral undertoned. All right, I do think I'm gonna keep this one. It is that more pinky toned one down here. It's not orangey, it really is got a nice pinky undertone. I think maybe that's why I love it so much. So I'm gonna hang on to that. I do think I'm gonna pass this Jouer one on. I know a lot of people, this is like their favorite bronzer formula. I don't know, the packaging on this is designed to connect together to other things. I don't know, I don't care for the packaging. The formula itself is fine. The undertone isn't awful on me, but it's not my favorite. I'm just not like happy, like it doesn't give me warm, happy feelings when I use it, so I am gonna pass this on. This Revlon one is nice, but I also don't think that I'm like massively going to miss it. I did use it quite a bit. It's got a pretty hefty divot in this pan, so I feel like I've used it. I like it, but it's not like, once again, I'm trying to use the filter of like, I don't want to just be okay with it. I really want to enjoy using it, so I do think I'm going to pass this guy on. Now that I'm looking at this, this definitely is a little bit warmer than I really love, so I did use this. I do really like this formula. I didn't feel like it was so orange on me, but now just looking at it and everything next to it, I feel like it does have a lot more warmth than these two shades. I do love this formula. I really did enjoy this one. I used a bunch, but I just feel like it might be a little more orange than I am typically gravitating towards. I do think I'm gonna keep this Becca one in Bali Sands. I did really enjoy just how this looked and went on my skin. This one I'm debating. I don't know, I'm not ready to part with this one. I did enjoy this one. The Catrice Sun Lover Glow Bronzer, I did like this one, so I'm gonna hang on to this one still. Alright guys, so here is what I am getting rid of. I am getting rid of 15 different bronzers and I'm keeping 16, so just about half of my collection, 48% gone. I'm feeling pretty good about what I'm keeping. I look at these and I think, yes, I enjoy using these. I trust them. I love how they look on my skin. And now that I feel like I've looked at the undertone, although there are some wonderful formulas in here, I don't feel like there's anything I'm going to miss. And I feel like I may be editing down a bronzer collection that is just more skin tone appropriate for me. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video was to kind of show you what my bronzer drawer looked like. So here's what the bronzer drawer looked like before we started. This is my bronzers and highlighters. When I first set up this drawer, all my bronzers were to the back and all my highlighters were to the front. My highlighter collection has gotten too big and too out of control, so it has definitely crept into the bronzer section. So I'd like to get this to be a little more organized and condensed. This is what the drawer now looks like, having done both the highlighter and the bronzer declutter. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's declutter. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite bronzers are, if you've tried any of these, which ones you guys enjoy, and I look forward to talking to you in my next declutter video. Bye now.